Okay, perfect. Hi. Yeah, I follow you on Instagram and whatever. So I have to renew my non-lucrative visa for year 2 and 3,
Yeah.
and I want to renew it before May 20th, before the new rules for the 183-day tax residency go into effect. And because my visa expires June 1st, that is within the window to do that.
Okay.
So time is sort of the essence.
Right.
And, my Spanish is kind of más o menos at best.
Because you haven't stayed. How many days did you stay
hmm So last year when I
before
received,
renewal?
180 days.
Yeah. So
So,
now now there's no requirement, absolutely no requirement. It's been deleted from the reglamento, from the bylaw that that regulates the main organic law. So there's absolutely no minimum stay for the renewal of the non-lucrative visa right
okay,
now.
so here's my understanding that after May 20th, of course, the government has changed the rules, and in order to renew a non-lucrative visa, I'm required to spend 183 days in Spain. Thus, I become a tax resident. However, if I submit my renewal before May 20th, then I will be grandfathered in with the old rules.
Okay, so exactly. So I will tell you, okay, and it's a bit difficult, and as you know, I'm not an immigration lawyer,
Yeah.
and this is not legal advice, and this is all based from hearing experiences and
Yeah,
talking to lawyers that I recommend and everything. I have
of
everything
course.
published on YouTube and everything. So I will try to, I can be mistaken, but basically the situation is as this, okay? Right now, the old or current regulations of the law apply until May 20th. So correct. Before May 20th, right now there is absolutely no ambiguity about the minimum stay requirement. The minimum stay requirement that used to be of 180 days was deleted from the regulation due to a Supreme Court ruling. Okay, it was absolutely deleted. So everyone is renewing their visas, even if they stayed less than 180 days. They're renewing their visas correctly as long as they comply with all the requirements of the visa renewal, funding, etc., all the other ones. Okay, that is the situation. Now, the situation after May 20th, including that date, and this is, of course, I don't know the future, and but I interview Ainhoa Manero, who is one of my recommended immigration lawyers, and she knows her job very well. She says that it is the same story. We're in the same situation in which the Congress added a minimum stay requirement, but it is not enforceable because of the same reason. You
I, and
see?
I, yeah, and I know the reason. It was an Iranian woman who went home for healthcare, and she was denied her visa renewal, and she fought it. Yeah, I love, you know what? I love all this stuff. So yeah, okay. So here's what I'm hearing you say. Well, after May 20th, these new rules go into effect. And I actually know they used to be old rules, but that doesn't matter. These new rules go into effect. I should be here 183 days and be a tax resident. But what you're saying, that the lawyer that you recommended is saying, is that that will not be enforceable. Is that correct?
Exactly. And I have videos there. And if you send me an email to hello@spainguru.es, I can send you the links, to the video so you can watch the video. You can also consult with the lawyer, of course. But also, there are two different years. One year is the tax year, and one different year, let's call it this way, is the immigration year, right? So the immigration year it's counted from the date of your tarjeta de residencia, okay, from your
June
TIE
1st.
card.
Yeah, June 1st.
Exactly.
So it's June 1st to June 1st. Yeah.
In your case, but some other
Yeah,
person could have arrived in any other date. So it's not really a calendar year. Basically, it's a
exactly. The
natural
year that
year, as you say in
I got my
Spanish.
visa. Yeah. hmm
Exactly. Since your TIE card starts on June 1st, then your card is, your immigration year that the immigration authorities are requiring from you from May 20th is to stay at least 183 days during that year from June to June. But this is not exactly aligned with the tax year, right? The tax year
Right.
starts on January
Calendar,
1st
calendar
till
year. Yeah.
December 31st. So they can match, but it could also not match, you see? So
I
it is
do.
not entirely clear why the regulation was changed to 183 days. If they really wanted to align it to, tax residency rules, they should have somehow clarified that it should be a calendar year minimum stay. You see?
Yeah, I
So,
do.
right? Because, if you stayed, imagine that, okay, you arrived June 1st, 2024, and then the first immigration year ends on June 2025, but you have stayed 182 days in 2024 and 182 days in 2025. You're not a tax resident any of those 2 years, unless the two other conditions of tax residency applies, which is your main source of income is from Spain, or your main source of interest is from Spain. You have your family, husband, couple, etc., living in Spain, etc. So, if only, so you see, this is the thing. It's so ambiguous. This issue.
Yes.
It's so
Yeah.
ambiguous because it doesn't mean, it is not absolutely direct the conclusion that if you comply with the minimum requirement from May 20th from the new regulation, that you will also become a tax resident in Spain, because those 2 years won't necessarily align. And also, this minimum stay requirement, lawyers who know their work say it's not going to be enforceable for the same reason that the previous one was deleted.
Because it restricts the free movement of people.
That's right. And that is a
Yeah.
main right that is, of course, one of the foundations of the European Union, which is
Yeah.
even higher in hierarchy of law. So it is highly defendable, let's say. Maybe the immigration authorities are not judges. They're not the Supreme Court. Maybe they apply what the rule of the legislators of the Congress say,
Yeah.
but then you fight this, and then they will be proven to be wrong, just as this
Okay.
Iranian lady proved it via the court.
Can I ask you, but a pretty simple question? Considering for me the timing is right, like this visa runs out June 1st, I could apply now before May 20th, and therefore I'm still under the old rules. Wouldn't that just be smarter and safer? Like you and I would be having a different conversation if I said, oh, mine runs out November and I'm only allowed to apply 60 days before. But doesn't it make the most sense to just be extra safe? Like there's no danger in me being extra safe, right? Because I hear what you're saying. Probably the new rules will not be enforceable. But wouldn't it be amazing to apply, I'm going to say May 19th, May 18th, and then there's just
Of
no
course,
question.
sometimes you want just to reduce friction, let's say.
Yeah.
All right. The same way, for example, some consulates are crazy about getting a rental contract for the submission of the papers, okay? And this is nowhere in any requirement or anything. And if you go with lawyers, they will fight this, okay? But
Yeah.
people will go to Airbnb, make a 3-month reservation, and submit that paper because they don't want to fight with the consulate. They don't want it, okay?
Yeah.
So the same way, and if I was in your shoes, definitely I don't want to be the first one to go to court. I don't want to be. Even if it is you have a super strong case because of everything that happened. You don't want to be the first one,
No.
to prove them wrong, which you will. You see, it is a very high chance. Okay, so I understand you perfectly. Like the best, if you can, if it's within the window of renewal, definitely try to do it under the previous rules, and just go ahead. I can see that there is Glenda here in the chat that asked a question. You can also connect Glenda to your camera and microphone if you want, but otherwise I can read your question here. Glenda, do I need a birth certificate for November at London Consulate for myself and my husband? Well, look, so you're applying for the non-lucrative visa in November, I guess, at London. So you only need birth certificates if you're going with children. Okay, so you need to prove the family relationship between you and your children. For that, you will need an original copy of the birth certificate of your children. Okay, apostilled and sworn translated if it's not in Spanish. Okay, imagine they were born in Colombia. Those birth certificates are in Spanish. You don't need to sworn translate them. Okay, you will need an apostille from the Colombian authorities. Okay, were they born in the UK? Perfect, apostilled and sworn translated. But only if you're bringing children. Okay, now if you are applying as a non-married couple and you don't have the, let's say, legal union, Commonwealth union to prove that you are a couple, and you have kids together, but you're not bringing the kids with you, still, just to make the case that you are a couple, you could present the birth certificate of your kids, your children, to make a case that you are a couple, even if you are not married. This is the other case in which you could use the submission of a birth certificate, okay? Maybe there's another case, but I can't think of any. If you're just applying as a couple with no children and you're married, definitely you don't need to submit a birth certificate for you or your husband. Okay, hope that answers the question. Thank you, Bruno. Okay. Of course, Glenda, you didn't join before. I was saying another lawyer, and this is not legal advice. Okay.
Bruno, do you recommend
Yes,
at the end of this you could give me the name of a lawyer that you think would help renew my non-lucrative visa?
absolutely. So yes, if you go to Spainguru.es, and the first thing you will see on the top menu is consultations, and any of those lawyers. But if you send me an email to at hello Spainguru, hello at Spainguru.es,
Cool.
I can send you the direct emails.
Yeah,
All
I've
right, so
used
you can tell them.
for health insurance. I used your recommendations. So yeah, I would any lawyer.
Fantastic.
I think. Does it matter? I'm in Mallorca, like Palma de Mallorca, but it's okay if I use a lawyer in Barcelona or Madrid or.
I mean, it should be okay. There are smaller variations, okay, but the lawyers that I recommend, they do renewals in many different provinces.
Okay.
Okay, there are some variations, like small variations, tiny variations, like some provinces require some movements of funds in a Spanish IBAN.
Yeah.
But look, if that is a problem and a friction for not renewing your non-lucrative visa, that's completely like this interpretation. The lawyers will fight it till the
Of
end
course.
because there's nowhere is written that. Okay,
Yeah.
so basically, it should be absolutely possible to renew your non-lucrative visa anywhere, and all the rules should be exactly the same. Okay.
Yes.
For example, there are the third extraordinary renewal that Galicia. I heard that doesn't allow you to renew for a third time. Some people want to do that if you haven't complied, with the minimum stay requirements for the long term. Okay,
Yeah.
there these kind of things. There are smaller variations, but the lawyers that I recommend, they're doing renewals everywhere in Spain. You
Yeah.
see?
To your point, look, I mean, I'm doing this, and I know I'm doing this ultimately so I get my permanent residency. I'm very aware that technically speaking, I should definitely be here not only 183 days, but 10 months for the next 5 years. I mean, I know I can break it up differently, but let's just say it like
No,
that.
no, 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 no. That's wrong. Sorry, Brian. I will answer you now, but first I will answer to Glenda. Do I
Okay.
need to pay the NLV on the 790 before the appointment? As far as I understand, you pay that at the appointment. You bring a credit card or you bring, and they charge you at BLS London, okay? But right on the group, if you haven't joined the Spainguru Facebook group, these kind of things, they're like people ask them all the time, and we have so many people asking for London. So this, let's say, technical detail things, you can join this group and ask that to the community. I have like maybe right now 50 people applying in London in the group talking. So yes. So going back, Brian, to the minimum stay requirement if you plan to apply for the long-term residence. You say the opposite. You said I have to be in Spain minimum 10 months. No,
Yeah.
the opposite. You cannot be outside of Spain more than 10 months.
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years, and you can
Yeah.
share those 10 months the way you want, but
Well, yeah.
you understand me?
But yeah, I
It's the
totally do.
opposite of what you said.
But if you do the math, okay, like, and for example, in my first year, I was actually already gone 4 months. Like I went home for Christmas. And I just came back in April. So I've already used up 4 months of my 10. I only have 6 left that I can be outside Spain, right?
Yes, but
So
of course, and this is a little bit off the record. If you travel, this is outside Schengen, like
it is,
whatever
it's
it is,
Canada.
stamp
It's,
in your passport, okay?
pardon?
Also, consider that if you travel within Schengen and you don't have proof of going out of Spain, it is
I
hard for the
know.
authorities to enforce or to calculate that you have been longer outside of Spain. But if you've been out of Schengen and it appears, then those will definitely count.
Exactly. Canada
Yes,
and
I
the
see.
United States. So definitely I get a stamp. But I've also heard, of course, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how strict. I have friends who have not been here 183 days and they got their permanent residency anyway. Have you ever heard stories like that?
Of people who were denied the long-term residence because of going. No, sorry.
No, people who did get their permanent residency, but they were not here. They were here under 183 days or under, you know what I mean? Like basically that's why I'm saying in 5 years, Spain will look and say, hey, we only want that you've gone 10 months total. So that's why I said like 2 months a year, just keep it simple. But okay, 10 months total. Have you ever heard of somebody gone 20 months total out of Spain and they got their permanent residency?
Sorry, so they've been out. Let's start again. Sorry, I was answering the question of Glenda, okay? Let's start again. So there are two different minimum stay requirements. One is that it's ambiguous for the temporary visas, okay, the 183 days per year per immigration year, let's say. And another one is the long term. So it's like overlapping requirements. There's also minimum stays if you plan to apply for Spanish citizenship.
I know. Oh boy, yeah.
Okay, so that's why when, for example, when you talk to a lawyer, you know, you not only want to ask about this visa, blah, 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 but your long term vision. Okay, what do you want to do? What's your strategy? Do you want to eventually
permanent resident
obtain your long-term residence or eventually your Spanish passport? Yes. So you need to comply with the minimum stays, like the overlapping requirements, let's say, for those different stages in your long-term journey. Okay.
Yeah.
So for the long-term residence, you cannot be outside of Spain more than 10 months in 5 years. You know, they don't have to be consecutive. They can be in different, you know, etc.
Just as long as it's not more than 6 months all at once. So yeah, I got that.
Yes, exactly. I heard that too, that they cannot be more than 6 months consecutively.
Have you ever heard of someone being gone? Here's what I've read. You know, like, because my parents, like, God forbid something happened to them, you could be gone a little more than the 10 months if you had a sick parent or something like that. But it says maybe you could be gone 12 months in the 5 years for permanent residency, maybe 15, but probably not gone 20 months. So I'm saying, have you ever heard, like, how strict are they? Are they really?
They are strict. Okay. What I haven't heard, I heard two things. They are strict with the minimum stays. They are strict. But I haven't, and I also know that you can make the case for like maybe living a bit longer for work reasons, for like, you know, as you say, like some sickness, stuff like that. Okay. But I would be extremely, extremely careful with all that. And I don't have a very good feeling about how successful those cases are.
Okay.
But to be honest, I haven't met personally anyone in this situation. Exactly. I've seen people asking, but I don't know how it really go.
Yeah.
You see?
I do.
But what I've seen is people who have to actually renew for a third time their temporary visa.
Another
because they didn't comply with the long-term minimum stay requirements. I've seen a lot of those.
And the third renewal would be for another 2 years, right? Or is it just 1 year more? Like, you know what I mean?
The
like
renewals of a non-lucrative visa?
Yeah.
The third renewal is for 2 years.
So if I didn't meet the requirement for permanent residency after 5 years, I could renew for another 2 years. So years like 5, 6, yeah.
But make sure that your region allows it. You are in Balearic Islands, no?
And I wouldn't want that because then I'm just delaying getting permanent residency. And I understand that the threshold from permanent residency to passport, that's much more strict. Okay, fine. Spanish language test. Okay, no problem. Obviously, by then I can speak it. I speak French. Why not Spanish? So, oui, bien sûr. But also, it's also the tax thing. So there's that as well. Look, I'm Canadian, but I also have my US passport. I'm one of those people that has to pay taxes in the United States for the rest of my life.
Unless you renounce.
I know, but the exit strategy, I mean, not a rich, but they kind of they don't like, the American government doesn't like that.
Of course.
Not so happy about that. Because I actually, that's an option since I already have a Canadian, passport. It's, yeah. So, okay, so you're saying, what I hear you saying, I do want my permanent residency because that I can renew every 5 years for the rest of my life unless the government changes the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like probably, I think one of your lawyers, while I could submit my application online for my non-lucrative visa renewal.
Right, you need your digital signature, yes, and you need everything.
I have it.
And you tested it, right?
No, I haven't tested it. I tried yesterday, and here's what I learned. Maybe you probably know all of this, but the Spanish government likes you to use Firefox, and I was using Google, and I kept getting this Google pop-up. So
Right. Yeah, you need to
apparently,
have all the different browsers installed, Firefox, Chrome, Bing, Opera sometimes, right? Because some of them don't work. But me personally, I don't have any problem with Chrome, you see,
oh,
but the thing is that you need to deal with Mercurio,
yes.
and I don't because I'm already Spanish. So it's not that I know everything about it, but I hear other people. But I certainly need to deal with Spanish authorities. But I deal a lot with Andalusian authorities, and they may have different, coding in their
Yeah.
portals because a lot of things that I need to do digitally are regional authorities, right?
That's why I think hiring one of your lawyers makes sense. When I applied the first time, I did it myself from Los Angeles. I'm like, yay, that was good. But I think it's just easier. It's just easier. I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but my address has changed. Still in the same city in Palma de Mallorca, in the city, but now I have a new address. And then is it empadronamiento? It might be difficult for me to change if I'm saying it wrong, empadronamiento in time.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't
So
know if that,
the empadronamiento, technically, it is an official requirement for renewal. But for example, not long ago, one Spainguru community member published in Granada, it wasn't a requirement.
oh,
You see, but I would say
yeah,
like 95% of cases, empadronamiento is a requirement. Now, the
yeah,
empadronamiento needs to be valid, and it has usually a validity of 3 months. It needs to be valid when you submit.
that's right. But the thing is, I can request online or go now in and get the renewed certificate for, like you say, the last 3 months if I didn't change where I lived. But I did. Still the same city, still the same, everything, just, 1 kilometer away. But
Look,
my rental
Brian,
contract,
this sometimes it's about reducing friction. Okay, it's about reducing friction, right? Um,
I know.
this is what I do normally. It's like, look, I have all the papers and everything, blah blah blah. Maybe one paper is not. I'm not going to recommend you to do anything like this. This is what I do. Okay, I have a valid empadronamiento, and it is an absolute mess, complication to get the right perfect empadronamiento. I would use the one that I have that is valid, that is legally valid, and that's it.
And
But this is of
by
course no advice, no legal advice, and not even personal advice, of course.
don't worry, no legal advice. You're just so when you say the one that don't worry about it. The one that I have, look, I've got one to an address not here in my apartment, and then I got my apartment after. It would just be much easier because, of course, I cannot get an appointment before May 20th. I can call an emergency line, but so I would rather use the one I already can get with my old address, but then the rental contract I show is going to be my new address. Do you think that's going to be a problem?
Do you need a rental contract for the renewal? Or just
Well,
the empadronamiento? Because in the end, you need to prove your address. You show
yeah,
either one of them. I would say that you need your rental contract if you can show an empadronamiento.
fair
But if you can
enough.
show an empadronamiento,
That's
it's,
better.
it's like stating twice the same thing.
Exactly.
Although in your case, it would be potentially a liability.
Yes, it would.
So,
Yeah. When I looked up the renewal process, I thought they
but
wanted.
first, I will answer to Glenda.
Thank you.
Glenda is here chatting, and she says, "Is there an English version of the X01 form and or cheat sheet?" I think those forms are always in Spanish, as far as I understand. Spainguru, let me see if I go to Spainguru London page, London consulate, because I have a dedicated page for each of the consulates where I aggregate all the first-hand experiences and the links to the official instructions. So I have non-lucrative visa instructions in English, and I go and it sends me to the non-working residence visa. This is the way they call it. I accept the cookies, and it says national application form, non-working residence visa application form X01, filling each of the sections, and it's in Spanish. Unfortunately, it's in Spanish. I don't see any version in English here. And for I think that everyone feels it in Spanish. You will need to translate. Google Translate, maybe upload the picture, or try to do your best and then upload it to the Spainguru Facebook group and ask people to give you their feedback on how you fill it up. That's what I would do. So yeah, it's in Spanish. Sorry, I cannot help you much more with that. And I don't want to create content on these specifics because they change so much. That it is so. Maybe I take this today. 8th of May 2025. I translate it to English. I say, and this is what you need to fill up. Blah 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 blah. The next day, everything changes, and the content just goes old after 24 hours. It's just so crazy. So I think it is easier just to fill up what you can and try to get your feedback from the community, from people who've done it before. If you are not using a professional who is helping you to do it, and translate it using Google, because really the translation won't be that bad. And ask for feedback, and then just go with it, like pre-filled. And I'm sure the person at BLS appointment will help you out if it was missing something. That's what would happen. I assume. All right. So, any more questions or comments? I'm happy today. You are too joining. We're growing.
Little group.
Last time it was only one gentleman from Atlanta playing at Miami, Bob, my friend Bob, who follows Spainguru for a long time, and also already asked me a few things by email, and he watches all my videos and gives likes to my videos. So I have a special connection with Bob, and hopefully I will interview him once he gets his visa, which I'm sure he will
Cool.
soon, and I will feature him on my YouTube channel so everyone can see Bob's journey towards Spain. So yeah, we were 1-1 last time, and now we're 2-1. Maybe next time we're gonna have more people joining, and hopefully it's not gonna be a chaos of questions. I also like it like this. So Brian, do you have any more questions or doubts or anything you want to comment? And Glenda?
About just your email, and then I'll email you, and I'll look for a lawyer or whatnot from there.
Yes, hello at Spainguru.yes. Some people say Spainguru.com. Spainguru. No, unfortunately, it's Spainguru.es from España.
You see?
Do they speak English at BLS? Yes, they do speak English. They do.
Okay.
They do, and it is actually an Indian company. So absolutely, yes, they speak English.
Okay.
And I understand they also speak Spanish. So they will normally have, I believe, Spanish staff that is, super experienced, because of course they're responsible for receiving your paperwork, your submission. So they need to understand you perfectly, and they will ask you questions if they have doubts, and they will review all your paperwork and put it in order, or the order they want. So yeah, definitely. Yes. Okay. But Glenda, if you haven't done so, join the Spainguru Facebook group that I send you the link. Are you part of the Facebook group, Glenda? It's 20,000 members, and I think like dozens of them. Yes, definitely. There's so many people who applied at London that they will give you their experience, because there's always variations. I can tell you something today, but people, experience different things. People go to the appointment and it only takes 5 minutes. Some people stay 3 hours. Some people get their visas in 5 days. Some people above 90 days. So do they complete the 790 form when you pay at BLS? What I understand is that you need to fill it up before you go, and then you pay it. There's a way to pay it online, okay? But it tends to be complicated to pay it online. So I understand that BLS will charge you and will yes, you can pay it. You can pay your fees. You can pay your fees at BLS. That's what I understand. Right. So make sure to bring a card, bank card that is working properly, and many people also bring cash, just in case. We always want to be in the safe side. All right. Do you know how long the processing time currently is in London? Today, someone was asking that in the group. It really depends on the person. That's why I never remember. And also, there's so many consulates out there that I mix things up. But today was someone asking that. some people go extremely fast in London. People praise London efficiency, but it depends on your case. If you have a very easy case, like straightforward, you're a retiree with your pension, you have above the minimum threshold, there's no strange things, like you're not working until the very end, you're applying with the P45, there's nothing, you don't have criminal records, you have a NLV compliant health insurance that you can add. Actually, all this you can get on Spainguru.es. Basically, everything that you submit is in order and simple, easy to understand. There shouldn't be any reason why they don't approve you in just 5 working days, right? Is it an advantage to have elderly parents-in-laws who need caring for? No. For the non-lucrative visa application, no. Let me go to the group and search for the word London. Unfortunately, the search bar of Facebook, look, London, but that's November 26th. I got my visa today, exactly 8 weeks, London to Alicante. A lot of people also mention where they're moving to, because part of the process, it seems to go through the offices where you state that you will be moving to. So if you're moving to Alicante, some part of the process will go through Extranjería, foreign office in Alicante. And so it will also depend on the workload at origin. London. Let's put most recent. Yes, someone said 8 weeks, 8 weeks and 3 days in December. Someone else. Of course, a lot of people from London going to Alicante, so it's pretty relevant. Yeah, you need to ask. It changes all the time. I have an interview of a couple who got their visas in 14 days. Have an interview on YouTube. This couple. Alicante, Glenda, yes. Of course, there is a high chance that that you move to Alicante. It is probably the most popular place where people applying at London move to. This one is October. 10 days, someone knows. Someone 10 days. 16 weeks in Manchester. Manchester seems to be harder and longer. They're not praised by their efficiency, and they also have some strict requirements, like for the medical certificate by a Spanish doctor, that you have to be physically present in Spain when the Spanish doctor's medical certificate is issued, whereas London and Edinburgh don't have this requirement. You can be outside of Spain, get your medical certificate fully online, be a Spanish doctor that you can find on Spainguru.es, London and Edinburgh, and absolutely no problem, as far as I understand, as of today. Glenda, Inline is fantastic and very friendly. We have bought a house in Catral. Catral. Where is Catral? Okay. Aha. It's less than 10,000 people. Nice, beautiful, chill place. Yeah. Southern Alicante province, close to Torrevieja. Yes, beautiful area with those flamingo pink lagoons nearby. You did that a couple of weeks ago. Medical certificate from Spain. Great. In London, there's no problem. Yes, Vega Baja de Segura. Yes, beautiful area. Wow, I can see the population is growing in Catral. Quite a lot. I'm sure not by Spanish people for some reason. I assume it's not Spanish people growing, moving to Catral. Smaller towns, but it's great. It's great choice, Glenda. I congratulate you for your choice, and I'm sure you're going to have a great time there. I heard of Catral before, but I couldn't really point it out in the map. Many Spanish smaller towns there that are beautiful and welcoming. Yes, I mean, I have many videos about getting accustomed to Spanish life. Some people say, like, oh, you're moving to Spain, you need to be only surrounded by Spanish people, otherwise you're not living in Spain, etc. I absolutely don't have that opinion. I think you have to have the right mix. Well, first of all, do what you want. But actually, one of the things I like about Spain is that they're not pushy about their culture. I like the fact that they're not pushing you about learning Spanish or anything. They just basically let you be. So it's a great, as you say, it's a great mix of both. And actually, it gives you the right time to do things. Some people take longer, some people less. But I lived 3 years in Denmark quite a while ago, and they were quite pushy about learning the language and about the culture, even though they speak great English and everything, etc. But when they asked you, like, "Oh, you've been here more than 6 months? Why are you not speaking Danish?" So, yeah, maybe because it's a smaller country, which is a bit more aware of not losing the culture. Who knows? Can house ownership count towards funds for renewal? No, doesn't. But the rental, if you rented it could potentially count. Although I recently interviewed Ainhoa Manero of Stern Abogados, who said that rental income wasn't widely accepted because it's considered to be less secure. Tenants could stop paying you. So yeah, no, house ownership doesn't count towards it. But if you're, let's say, if you're close to the minimum threshold, showing that you are owner of a house makes a stronger case, because they will assume that you will have less expenses. Credit cards, yes. The credits of a credit card should count. There is somewhat friction from the authorities about this, but if you can prove from the financial institution where you have your credit card that the credit is immediately accessible without penalties, that is absolutely liquid, yes, it should count, and it is actually included. This is included in the regulation, so it should count. And I know of people who made it count, both for initial submission application, and for renewals. As far as I understand, this is not legal advice. Remember, I'm not an immigration lawyer. Consult with immigration lawyers, please. You can find them on spainguru.es. All these questions also ask to the community. It's absolutely free to do it. Of course, it will be personal experiences. But personal experiences need to be listened to also, because sometimes some lawyers, in order to be on the safe side, they're extra safe. We come to questions like, should I sworn translate all my bank statements? It's 30 pages, right? Well, 30 pages of bank statements, the sworn translation, if we do the calculation, 30 times 40 euros is 1,200 euros of sworn translation only of the bank statements. Some lawyers, they would translate them all because they have in-house sworn translators included in the price. But if you're applying by yourself, I don't know. I wouldn't do it myself. I would maybe sworn translate maybe the summary pages of those bank statements, and a lot of people don't even translate them all. Some banks even provide bank statements in Spanish. The case of Chase for Americans. So yeah, sometimes some people go the very extra safe side, but sometimes you need to maybe take a little risk. Otherwise, it could become extremely expensive and non-practical. All right. It's almost 1 p.m. So if you don't have any more questions, fantastic, Linda. I hope this was helpful to you. And I will be crossing my fingers so that your application is successful and you're able to come with your visa to enjoy your newly purchased property in Catral, Alicante. Brian, the same thing to you. I hope that you are able to renew your non-lucrative before the 20th of May in order not to add any extra friction to your process. And you can be continuing enjoying the beaches of Mallorca. All right. By the way, this is being recorded. Are you okay if I upload this to the YouTube channel? Perfect. Brian says yes. Glenda says yes. Thank you so much for that permission. Maybe next time I will actually say it before. But yeah, I sometimes always take it for granted. But yeah, thank you for giving me your permission, and stay in touch. Send me that email to hello@spainguru.es. So we stay in touch, and maybe I can send you all the links that you need, Brian. Thank you so much, Glenda. See you next time. Thanks for connecting today. Goodbye.